Hello and welcome to part 2 of our 8-part series on basic training with Premiere Elements. I'm your host Steve Grisetti, and today we're going to look at how to add the media into your project. In part 1 we showed you how to create a project, and now before you start editing your movie you've actually got to bring the media into your Premiere Elements project. Before we even get started, I want you to look at one thing here, and this is the screen you'll see when you first load up your program, when you first start up your program. It's blank, it's empty, but you're usually going to start by default in what's called the media screen. Now this media screen is the single most confusing screen in the entire program because it seems to show you media in your project. And this is not media in your project at all. What you're looking at is a mini view of the organizer, which can be launched by this button up here. Now the organizer, as I said in part 1, is its own separate file management program. We're not going to deal with that in this series. But this media panel here is where the program goes back to by default every time you add media to your project. And it can be a little confusing because none of this media is in our project yet. In fact, if you want to see what media is in your project, you click on the Project button here. Now in Premiere Elements 8, this Project button is under the Organize tab. In previous versions, it was under the Edit tab. Click on it, and as you can see, this is the media that is in our project. There is none yet. And now we can add media to our project. There are basically 3 ways to get media, and by media I mean audio, I mean video, I mean photos or graphics. There are basically 3 ways to get the media into your project. You get to them all 3 through the Get Media button here in the Organize tab. Now the most common way for someone like me to get media into my project is to capture it from a mini DV camcorder. If you've got a tape-based camcorder, that would be a mini DV or an HDV camcorder. There's HDV, there's mini DV. When you click on one of these buttons, it will launch the capture screen. Now I've got my mini DV hooked up by FireWire to the program. And here's my capture screen. And if I want to see what is on my tape, I can just play back here and take a look at my tape, and I can use these playback buttons, which are pretty self-explanatory, to kind of navigate to a certain spot in the tape and then capture the video that I want. Of course, we've got the play button, which becomes a pause button when you click on it, a stop button, a rewind, a fast forward. These little buttons here will take you 1 frame at a time. And these buttons here I like a lot because they will take you to either the beginning or end of the last scene based on the time code on your camcorder. So I want to get to the beginning of this scene here with Gene walking the dog. I click on this button and the camera is going to navigate itself right to the beginning of the scene. And now I can start capturing. A couple of things going on here that are worth noting, and that is the clip name. By default, it's going to be the name of our project, which is Video Test 1, sometimes with an 01 or an 02 after it. The save to, or the places where these video clips are going to be saved by default, is usually going to be the project folder, which, remember, we created our own separate project folder in part 1 for our Video Test 1. So as we capture our video, that's where default it's going to go. And again, we said that was to our advantage because ultimately when we want to clear this project, when we're all done with it, we want to clear it off our computer along with any temp files or scratch files, we can do that simply by deleting this folder. But for now I'm going to capture my files to there. No reason to change it. I can change it if I want to dog walking. You have the option of capturing only the video or only the audio. I want both, so I have them both checked. You can capture to your timeline, in which case as you capture it will be automatically added to your movie. I don't like to do that, so I'm unchecking that. And you can run an auto analyzer. Now the auto analyzer is a more advanced feature, and what it does is looks at certain characteristics in your clips, which are very useful for some of the tools in Premiere Elements. If I'm going to run it, I'll run it manually, or I can run it automatically in the organizer. I prefer to, though, not run it when I'm capturing my video because it can slow down the capture. And I also like to split scenes, and that means that every place where the scene ends, the program is going to automatically break and give me a new clip so that my scenes are my clips are only 1 scene long. And you have the option in mini DV, when you're captured from your mini DV, to break those scenes according to time code or content. I like breaking according to time code content is a little more ambiguous, but breaking it according to time code is going to break it so that every time the camcorder was paused, and I'll show you where that happens, it's going to automatically create a new clip for me. This keeps my clips nice and succinct, nice and short, so that they're easily managed. And I'm ready to capture here, so I click on my capture button, and there we go, our capture. And break. Right there, we've got a new scene. So now we have two scenes, that scene that just broke and this new scene here, the dog going by, and that's good for our capture. So we'll pause it there and we'll turn off capture. Once again, we're back here to the media panel, which again can be a little confusing because of what's in here. If I want to know what's in my project though, what was captured, I go over here to the project. And as you can see, there are my two clips of the dog walking. There's another way you can get your media into the project, and that is to browse and take the media off of your hard drive. You're actually linking to it on your hard drive, not so much taking it off your hard drive. So I'll go get media and I can browse to PC files and folders. And there you can see I can browse to any place on my computer or on my computer network to get the audio and video and still photos that I want to use in my project. So again, I can do several at once by holding down, say, the Shift key, or by holding down the Control key. I can choose just, say, those three, for instance. And then when I click Open, those clips are brought into my project. Again, we're back here on the Media panel, a little confusing. We go to the Project panel, and there are the clips I just brought in. Finally, we can get media into our project from an outside device. And if we click on Get Media, there are a number of devices here that connect by USB usually, and we can connect to those and get the media off them. So if we're getting our media off a hard drive camcorder, say an AVC HD camcorder, or even a basic DV hard drive camcorder, we're going to be using this button here. If we're going to be getting them off a DVD camcorder or getting them off a DVD, we're going to use this. And if we're getting them off a still camera, we're going to click on this. But believe it or not, all three of these buttons are going to launch the same tool. Same with mobile phone and players. All four of those buttons are going to launch the same tool, and that is the media downloader. So let's go and we'll pull pictures off our digital still camera. Click on this, and in a moment you'll see the downloader launch. Again, this is the same whether you're taking the video off a still camera, whether you're taking them off, you usually see the standard dialog box here, or whether you're taking them off a still camera, whether you're taking them off an AVC HD camcorder or a hard drive camcorder, this is the way you're going to get your media in. You're not going to capture it, you're going to download it. So I'm going to select my device, which in this case is my Canon PowerShot. And I can go to the advanced dialog here and I can choose which pictures I want. Again, if this were an AVC HD device, you could choose which files you want to bring in. And when I've selected them, I click on Get Media. And these files will be downloaded off the camera or off your hard drive camcorder or off your DVD, and they will be brought down onto your hard drive. So they actually are downloaded off the device and onto your computer's hard drive, and they're simultaneously added to the project. So when I go back to my project folder here, I can see that once again I have all of the pieces, including the pieces I recently downloaded from the still camera. So again, three different ways to get the media, not just video, stills, and audio into your program, and that is either by capturing them off a capturable device, a tape-based device, by browsing and pulling them off of your hard drive, and by getting them off a device by the media downloader, which then puts them on your computer and simultaneously puts them into your project. Finally, if you've got a lot of media in here, it can get a little confusing. If you've got, say, 100 clips in here, and I can get many dozens of clips in my media panel while I'm working on a project, Adobe has given us a really nice way to organize these, and that is by creating little folders. And these are essentially like creating folders in Windows or whatever. And I can click on this and I can create a folder here and call it Christmas. And I can grab these three photos, drag them into there. I can create a folder, call it Narration. And I can drag all my narration files into there. I can create one and call it Dog Walking and drag my clips into there. Now, you can see how much more easy it is to organize our media now that we have them in these little folders or in these little bins. Now suddenly, instead of having to scroll up and down across dozens or 100 different video clips, I can just look at maybe one at a time here or two at a time just by opening those subfolders. It's a great tool there for bringing simplicity to what could be a really complex project. And there we are. We've got now media in our project. We've got our project created and with settings that will utilize this media. And now we're ready to move on to part 3, the exciting part of actually creating our movie in Premiere Elements. So again, part 1, we created a project according to the necessary specifications. Part 2, we brought the media into our project. And as we go on to part 3, we'll finally get to make our movie. And then in the advanced steps, we'll show you how to bring some magic to that movie. So thank you for joining me for part 2 of our series here, and hope you'll stick with us for the whole 8-part series. I'm Steve Grisetti. Have a great day.